Hi guys, I realized that it's been quite some time since I've given you guys an update on what's been going on in the actual tank itself. I've had some trials and tribulations since the last update. Mainly I had a very hard to beat dino outbreak. Unfortunately it was the kind of dinos that doesn't respond to UV, so they were very hard to get rid of. I've only had dinos once before, and I just increased the amount of UV I used on that tank and they were gone in like 48 hours. I continued to run 110 watts of UV on this tank. I threw on my spare UV of an additional 40 watts, so I was running about 150 watts of UV on this tank and didn't make a dent on them. So what I did to combat the dinos was I tried to, the actual reason why the dinos first appeared was that I managed to crash my nutrients. I think the instigator was that my cat managed to close the hatch on my auto feeder, which I probably didn't realize for a couple of weeks or so. And I generally don't test my nutrients all that much. And when I kind of realized that some corals looked kind of off, I saw some brown stuff in the sand, and I did a couple of nutrient tests. They were both phosphates and nitrates were at 0. So yeah, that was the thing that actually caused the dinos. To get rid of them, I obviously increased nitrates and phosphates. I'm currently dosing nitrates. That's not something I'm too keen on doing, really. I think it's better to raise your nitrates through feeding, but it doesn't really matter how much I fed the tank because I had so much coral, so they take up so much stuff from the water. So I was feeding, let's see here, I was feeding pellets and flake food 4 or 5 times a day, nori at least every other day, a bunch of aminos, let's see here, what else, like mastic, coral foods and everything, and they were still bottomed out. I could get them like just over 0, so like 2 in nitrates and phosphates were detectable, but as soon as I missed a day, let's say I was busy at work or something, and I couldn't keep up that feeding, the nitrates and phosphates just went to 0 straight away. So I had to start dosing stuff. That helped. It didn't really fix the issue. So I started dosing silicates and throwing in a bunch of Aquaforce Life Source. I used coral snow from Seovit and a bunch of other bacterial supplements. I believe it was Special Done from Arca and a bunch of other KC bacterial supplements as well. What I tried to do was to promote other organisms to get the upper hand over the dinos, and after about 3 weeks Cyano started to appear, and I had calculated with that Cyano would pop up, which is actually a good thing because yeah, it clears out the dinos since it outcompetes them. The thing I didn't really expect was how much Cyano actually appeared. So this entire tank was looking freaking horrible. I would stir the sandbag, blow the Cyano off the rocks and everything in the morning, and say 10 hours later I came home from work and it was completely covered. I'll throw in a video here so you can see how it looks. Yeah, and as you can see, that didn't look very nice now did it? So now I had a completely separate issue on my hands, but fortunately Cyano is a lot easier to get rid of, as I said. I tried the just things that you do with Cyano generally. I never had a bunch of Cyano in any of my tanks, mostly like a couple spots here and there on low flow areas, so I wasn't really too knowledgeable on how to handle it. but I did the standard stuff. I tried to get my nutrients more in line with the red-field ratio. I increased flow. I tried to get rid of any built-up detritus in the sand bed and things like that could possibly be feeding the cyano. However, after 2 or 3 weeks of that, just got worse each and every day. So I finally broke down and used something that I've been very reluctant to use in the past. Was like red slime remover. I think it's from Ultra Life. It's an oxidizer, so from what I understand, it doesn't contain any antibiotics like chemically does. So I think it's not as rough on your biodiversity in the tank, on your biome, which is the trendy word, I guess. So I used that. Of course, I siphoned out all the cyano, or at least as much as of the cyano as I could. I think what usually happens when people run into trouble with these kinds of things, when you have like a tank wipeout or something, is that you haven't gotten rid of a bunch of the cyano, it dies and it releases a heck of a lot of crap into the water column, and your oxygen just bombs. So I didn't really have any problems whatsoever. Once I dosed it, the tank was almost cyano-free since I removed as much as I could. In about 48 hours, most of the cyano was gone, which was great. I'm very surprised on how effective it was, and I haven't seen any weird instabilities or anything like that happen after I used it. So it doesn't look like it affected my biome too greatly, at least. Oh, and another thing that's quite important is that is aeration. I removed the cup of my Royal Exclusive skimmer. It's a Supermarine 250, so it's a relatively big skimmer, and I just cranked that baby out to the max output. So the entire tank was filled with micro bubbles and everything, and the actual sump looked like a bubble bath. But none of the fish were affected in any way, as far as I could tell, at least. And when you're looking at the tank now, it's free of cyano, or it has some little spots left. But I think those are a lot easier to manage. I'm going to be continuing dosing the bacterial supplements, and I'm fairly confident that it'll go away in time. In terms of other stuff that's been going on with the tank, I have some new fish. So let's see here. Oh, and you can see these aren't dinos, these are diatoms, which has popped up when the cyano disappeared. You can see some on the back wall as well. I have a new lawnmower bunny who's taking care of those. But something that I've been wanting for a long time is a group of Bimaculatus anthias. And a friend of mine, oh, the lyre-tail is giving chase to them a bit since they're new. A friend of mine, he's called Solar Powered Reef on Instagram. He actually QT'd them for me. And they all made it through quarantine just fine, no problems whatsoever. So that was a great relief, and they're all doing well, they're all eating and are happy as can be. If you remember, in the last video, I bought some new corals from Coral Gardens in Italy, and they have also been doing great, except from one, which basically RTN'd overnight. I'm not sure why. It's a wild-caught colony, so that's always a risk that you take when dealing with those. And I think that probably combined with that UPS screwed up, and it was sitting in their warehouse for an additional 48 hours, 24 hours, might have been the cause. But the rest of them are doing very well and are encrusting and growing. So here's one, and since they're wild caught, they have lost some color. You can always expect wild caught stuff to brown out initially, but they'll regain their color in like 2 or 3 months. This super pink Millipora is doing awesome. It's growing and encrusting. Let's see here if we can get a better shot. There we go. I'm really excited about this one. This strawberry shortcake and the green slimer are just getting out of control. I'll probably have to frag off some really nice chunks of this one in due time. Here are the other two corals from Coral Gardens, and they are doing awesome. And that one, there's a small acro crab that lives in that one as well. So it's very cool to see him pop up from time to time. Other new fish are these two little sand sifting gobies. Solar powered Reef, he also caught them for me. And they're so freaking cute. Luckily, they seem to have paired up, which is very fun to see. Some other stuff. I moved this Hellfire torch more towards the front, since you really didn't see it all that well. It was basically sitting behind that pillar, and holy moly, it has grown. This was one head about a year ago, and now I believe it's around 10 or 15 heads or something like that. All the other fish are doing well, no issues whatsoever, and I might have some interesting fish coming in here soon as well. My LFS just sent a message and said that I have some cool stuff for you when we're picking them up. So yeah, let's see here if in the coming days I can pick up one more of my dream fish. Oh, I think we can see the lawnmower bunny. Oh yeah, he's back there. It's quite difficult to see. Maybe you can see him back there chilling. He's still kind of terrified of me. So as soon as I go into the room, he just buggers off. But you can see he's doing the work on the back wall now. All those little bite marks are his doing. Let's finish off with a close-up on the Anthias. They're all female at the moment, so I'm expecting one of them to turn into a male and be the dominant fish in the group. The males are just stunning. If you haven't seen one, I would Google that. The Bimaculathus Anthias males are freaking awesome. The most beautiful of all Anthias males, in my opinion. Look at these guys. I believe that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, post them down below. I try to reply to every comment I get. I really appreciate all you guys commenting on the videos and encouraging me. If you like more frequent updates from me, you'll find me on Instagram. My username is Viking_reefing, and I post there basically daily. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe and have a good one.